Hi guys, and welcome to another video. So today I'm in the car, which means we're going to be doing something a little bit different, but I don't have a bike in the back, not yet. I'm actually on my way to a place called Flamborough, which is on the coast. My uncle has bought a classic 1950s, I think it is, Carlton race bike. He saw it for sale in a newsagent window while he was just visiting the coast for a day out. And as I live a lot closer to the coast than him, I said, all right, I'll go pick it up for you. And he'll come and collect it from me at some point in the future. So that's what I'm doing this evening. Going to go to Flamborough, pick up the bike, bring it back, and then I've got the opportunity before he collects it to make a little video, see what it's like to ride a 60, 70-year-old bike. So yeah, let's set off to Flamborough. Okay, it's now a couple of hours later. I'm back from Flamborough. It's about 8 o'clock now. And I've got the bike, so I'll quickly show you it. So yeah, there it is. I went for a quick test drive on it when I was there, but it's got the friction shifters. It's not something I'm used to, and also the saddle is way too low. I'm not going to do anything about it today. I'm going to try and do a video on it maybe on Friday and look over it, look at the features it's got, and try and set it up and go for a quick ride. Hi, it's a few days later now. I picked the bike up on, I think it was Monday night, and today it's Friday. So I thought I'd just talk a little bit about the bike, go through some of the features, maybe pick up the GoPro and zoom into some of the nice points on the bike. Then we will give it a looking over. We will just sort of pump the tyres up, try and lift the saddle, which is pretty critical at the moment for me to ride it, and then hopefully go for a test drive. So to give a little overview, it's a Carlton bike, originally made in workshop, and it's come with this really old bag, which is, well, that's made in Nelson, Lancashire, but I think what I'll do is I'll go around the features of the bike with the GoPro and kind of talk about them a little bit more. And the bike costs £55, so yeah, I don't know if that's cheap or expensive, it's kind of just, it's £50, isn't it? I've looked up the bikes online, and Carlton were going from the late 1800s until the 1980s, and the guys told me it is a 1950s model, but I don't know how true that is. I did test ride it when I picked it up, which was difficult because the saddle height is so wrong for me right now. But it does actually roll quite nice, like the front wheel needs truing up, but yeah, it's not too bad to ride, and the guy I bought it off told me that he'd ridden it up to Flamborough Point where the lighthouse is before I collected it, just to make sure it was all running right. So it's not sort of like a basket case, it is a usable bike at the moment, it seems. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll go over some of the points of the bike that I like with the GoPro, and then I will just sort of look at doing the bike up a little bit, which might just be a case of cleaning, and maybe not even cleaning, maybe just lubricating the chain, because I can't really bother cleaning it. And we'll pump the tyres up, we'll try and adjust that saddle height, and then we will take it for a ride, but that might not be today because it is really windy out, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to film that yet, because I'd quite like to go on a decent ride, but it's a bit hilly where I live, and I don't know if I want to cycle this bike on hills. Okay, so I'll get onto the GoPro shots now. Okay, the first thing I'd like to point out is this saddle. So this is actually a Wright saddle. So this is sort of further evidence as to the age of the bike. So I've just been doing some research. I don't think you can make out the Wright's logo. I had to shine a torch pretty hard on this to be able to make out what the logo was. And yeah, I've been doing some research, and it turns out that Brooks bought the Wright Saddle Company, I think in the 1960s. It's quite difficult to find this information out. But on the Brooks website, it does mention that they moved factory in the 1960s when they bought the Wright Saddle Company. So yeah, that's a nice touch. It's really nice worn saddle. It's actually surprisingly comfortable, even though it's not worn to me. And yeah, that is further evidence that this is a pre-1960s bike. Okay, next up is this really tired looking saddlebag. If I just spin this around a bit. So this wasn't going to come with the bike, I don't think, originally, but then the guy let me have it with the bike just because I was paying sort of a decent price for it. So yeah, we can see there, can you make that out on the camera? That it is HW Paradise, which is in Nelson, Lancashire. So another British saddlebag there. I think one thing that I really like about this bike is everything on it is British made, so it's just something that you never ever get these days. Okay, so moving on, we've got the mudguards. So these are Blue Mel's lightweight made in England mudguards. So yeah, they are sort of like full length mudguards. They're not great condition, but they definitely look in place on the bike. Be nice to maybe clean these mudguard stays up a little bit, although maybe that adds to the character of the bike. Okay, so that's kind of the accessories, if you will, sort of saddle, saddlebag and mudguards. So yeah, the bike itself, let's go around to the front where you can see the Carlton logo. So here you have the Carlton logo, which says Workshop England on it. So again, British. So yeah, the bike, like some of the logos have worn off, but I actually think that adds quite a lot of character to the bike. That sticker's actually in pretty good condition. And then going round, I guess that says Carlton Cycles again. Again, it's worn off. And then there's quite a bit of wear here, but again, I think that adds a lot of character to the bike. Things I really do like are this lugwork design here is really beautiful, and it kind of reminds me of a modern Colnago. That's the only place I've really seen lugwork like anything like that on a modern machine, and that's really nice. And again, on the top of the forks, these pedals look a little bit not in the correct era, although I think my uncle's going to change them. Chain rings, again, to me they look quite modern. I don't know about rear cassette and derailleur. One thing I do know is that the cabling is awful. So look at that, they've just wrapped the cable around for the derailleur at the rear there. Also the cabling is really bad on the front brake as well. It's just sort of wrapped around. And same again on the rear brake, look at that. Absolutely awful. Why would people do that? I have also noticed one real noob error that I made when buying this bike. Like I said earlier, I didn't check the gears, and there's no front derailleur and there's no cable coming out of the front shifter here. So yeah, what a noob mistake. Oh well, I guess my uncle will have to either have it in the small ring all the time or just get fit. Okay, so as promised, I'm going to use the chain wear tool. This is a little bit worn out, but if we put in the 0.75 wear in first, I'll say, so that's gone straight flat. So that would usually indicate that it's about time to change the chain. But then if you flip it around, this is the 1.0, which tells you if the chain's completely dead, and no, it's not. So maybe he has been changing the chain on this at some point. If this is even a viable way of measuring a chain of this spec, I have no idea. Okay, so that's the sort of GoPro shots done, talking about what I like to talk about. I've just pumped the tyres up. I've done them to 65 psi because that's what it says on the tyre wall. I'm not entirely sure how far I'm going to take this bike for a ride now, because I have found some cracks in the tyres, so maybe the tyres need replacing. Well, there's no maybe about it, the tyres need replacing. And also it's quite surprising that there is no front derailleur. I should have noticed that. It's a proper sort of noob error. You don't ever expect there not to be a derailleur when buying a bike. But maybe you do when you buy an old bike. It's just because I've never bought an old bike before. I've only ever actually bought one bike second-hand ever. So yeah. But also I don't think that's going to be particularly a problem. So I'm going to do a shorter ride, maybe just a few miles now. And I think the small ring looks plenty big enough for me. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to try and remove the saddlebag, and let's try and lift this seat post up. Okay, it's really, really crusty. It's like it's not been touched for a very long time. Okay, so looking at the straps there, I've decided that these are so sort of crusty and moulded to shape that I'm worried that, I think they're leather, but I'm worried that if I undo them, they're starting to crack, and I'm worried I might damage it. So just looking at it, I think I can get to the bolt that'll allow me to adjust the seat height without having to undo these. So I'm going to spray a little bit of WD-40 on now and see if I can then undo the bolt that's holding the seat post in position. Okay, slight interruption there with the phone call. Okay, that's not as long as I thought it'd be. Okay, so the seat post is out. It's nowhere near as long as I thought it'd be. but I think it should be okay. It'll definitely be okay for my uncle. He doesn't like too much seat post showing. Okay, I'm going to go and get some grease so I can clean this up and then grease it before putting it back in, tightening it up, and yeah, then we're almost done. Okay, we've got the bike here now, and I've got the luggage scales that I'm going to use to measure it. So let's see how heavy it is. It's heavier than my Ribble, I know that. Settling down at... Wow, it's heavy to hold like that. It settled down at about 13.5 kilograms. It's probably not that bad actually. I thought it was going to weigh more than that. Okay, so I think the next thing we'll do is take this for a ride. We're not going to go far. We'll go down out of the village and then back into the village, which will involve a short climb. I don't know what I'm going to film or how I'm going to film it. It might be just a tiny bit of handheld footage. Okay, so I'm just on a quick ride around the village. Don't want to go far because I don't trust that the saddle's not going to drop all of a sudden. But it seems pretty alright actually. I think changing gear is really weird to do, and the position's really weird. It's really difficult to brake compared to a modern bike when you're on the hoods. It feels like the brake's definitely made for when you're in the drops because the angle's really strange. But yeah, apart from that, it rides surprisingly well. Quite speedy, it feels. I'm not going to do on the bike filming. I don't trust myself enough at the moment, but I'm going to be doing some work to this bike. I'm going to try and just make the seat post a little bit more secure before I get back to my uncle. I'm also going to try and find a front derailleur that I need to get and some matching outer and a new inner cable so that he can change his front gear. And yeah, I think that's it really. Then I'll give it back to him. The front wheel could also do with truing up as well. I might take it into the shop and get that done at some point, or I might let him do that himself. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Catch you in the next one. Okay, just back home. Really glad I didn't go too far on it, because on the way home there's this tiny descent, literally sort of like 400 yards away from my house, and the sidewall had cracked and just the tube just came out of it and then just immediately exploded with a massive bang. So yeah, new tyres are in order. I think the tyres were borderline, well no, the tyres were knackered to be honest with you, but they were kind of a little bit period, so it was nice to keep them. But yeah, I guess because I had pumped them up to the pressure rating on the tyre, which was about 65 psi from the 20 they were running, that's what finally made it give in, and it went pop. I checked the caliper and the caliper isn't rubbing against the tyre, so yeah, it was all me. Alright, so the video will actually end here. Goodbye.